All right, I've been patiently doing other projects in the house, mostly watching TV as I wait. But today, the final delivery of the exhaust valves, the correct exhaust valves, occurred, and these heads are going over to get rebuilt tomorrow. So that's good news. Also, one of the things that I talked about earlier that finally came in, these are plasma cut. You know, I got to clean up and get the mill scale off, all that kind of thing. But these guys, if you remember, the magic marker outline is that of the headers. Now, upon porting the head, you know, there's a lot of different opinions out there. There's certainly a lot of science out there as well, but the reality is that that I'm not going. These heads aren't going to flow a super amount, but I'm going to try to relieve wherever I have to create eddy currents or sharp corners or those kinds of things. So these were sized to the finished diameter, which is 1.5 inches on the exhaust port. I opened the exhaust ports up 1/8 inch on the diameter, and so they're finished to that, and they line up really well, and they follow very well. There's obviously minor adjustments. I mean, this is plasma cut number 1, and those are hand opened number 2. So now each one of these two will be matched to a cylinder head. I'll have to stamp them or something of that nature, because I'll begin to open these up where the side touching the head is matched to the port and then opened to the gasket. So, and my intentions are to have that radius be at least 1 inch into the head. Now I'm sitting off of the head with the flange, you know, approximately 3/16 of an inch, you know, give or take, plus 3/8, and so that winds up being. Let me get this lined up. So that winds up being 9/16 worth of depth, and so I will have to, you know, obviously intrude a little bit more than that into the port as I finish it off. But the amount of material at the end of that, 5/16, will be minimal because of the taper or the chamfer as this widens out to that port. So that was number 1. Number 2 is, of course, if you recall from earlier communication, that the size of the header and the gasket was too close to the edge of the original port, and as a result of that, you know, a gasket blowout isn't a chance deal. It's a likelihood. It's not even, in my estimation, something that I should even consider trying, because it just ain't going to work. So that's what allows me to adapt to that larger header size and get a good seal, and also, you know, finish up those ports as best I can to match. Now, you know, it's going to neck down and come up, but, you know, I have a high velocity area in here, but if I eliminate the eddy currents, the corners where I'm causing turbulence, I should achieve reasonable flow numbers. And obviously on the exhaust side, there's a significant amount of pressure behind it pushing it out as well, but I should not create a significant amount of back pressure by doing it the way that I'm thinking. So in any event, then they go to a 2.5 inch collector, and I intend on using dual 2.5 inch exhaust. So there's not going to be much in the way of restriction for an engine that's 331 cubic inches. Also, just a quick update, the gentleman that was doing the suspension design has a number of things in stock, are received at this point now, and has just a few components. Some are cut. He is actually welding some of the rear suspension components that he does and is finalizing, probably today, finalizing the drawing on the front suspension to release that for cutting, for laser cutting. So we are days, probably 2 weeks-ish, if you include shipping from the receipt of parts on that, which is very exciting because then, essentially I clean up the whole floor. Also, the adapter, talked with the machinist on the adapter. He was struggling. He was struggling a lot because of it's a steel plate, 16 inches in diameter, and there was some attenuation. There's a chamfer on the inside right here, this chamfer that I want to register on. Okay, because it's machined and it helps establish the radius. I don't want to rely on the bolts alone. And so the conversation was, well, this is a 57.5 degree chamfer as measured, and his concern is that the only way to achieve that is on a lathe, not in a CNC 5-axis machine. And although the arguments can be made for all of this, he felt that the best finish would be in a lathe. Well, out here near the 16-inch diameter, he was getting vibration or attenuation and chattering, and so that was a concern. And so I was in yesterday and talking to him about that, and the largest struggle was tolerances based on the print that I had provided. He wanted to maintain be within specification, and I also want want him to be within specification. So to that end, we talked about rather than 57.5, go 45 degrees, or something that you can accomplish with a mill head, but be cognizant of where it's touching on here. So if it's touching on the radius on this machine radius, use the inner diameter or outer diameter, depending on how you're looking at the part, inner or outer diameter, but at the appropriate diameter that's touching the transmission case to register it properly. And of course, I'll dial all this, but you want to eliminate any possibility of error where you have the opportunity. And in this case, I followed up with the shop foreman, who happens to be a very good friend of mine, and he said that there is a significant amount of time in this, but he said most of the time is related to trying to problem solve, determine what setup to use, set up, tear down, and go to a different, go from the lathe to the CNC. And the word tonight was that he is going to do it all on the 5-axis CNC mill. So that actually makes me feel better, because you have control on your surface finish better than you do on a large diameter in a lathe. It's difficult because both sides of the plate are finished, and the results can cause effects that you don't want to have in the end. So, and anyway, without rambling anymore, he expects that to be completed tomorrow morning. So I'll pick that up, and it looks like this weekend I can build my stack. If there's enough time, I can build my stack and start mocking the motor in, just to look at it, because I need the suspension. But I can build that in, put the oil pan on, dial indicate in to establish my center, verify all my measurements, verify everything, and maybe just get it laying in there to see what it's going to start looking like. So I'm pretty excited, because now I'm going from what was a run to a jog to a walk to completely standing still. Today I'm back to what I would consider a walk, and within the next couple of weeks back to a full-on sprint, which I enjoy getting back into it. So that's where the status is at this point. And again, very, very, very excited to see some movement. But people have health. North Dakota has weather, and we're in the wrong season for both right now. So in any event, status as of the day. Have a good one.